Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of Cutting My Way In. And for this week, my main focus was, like I told you guys last week, was to make sure the application was responsive. And the way that I did it was, instead of building like all the code together, I did what you do in React, and you separate uh, each thing by its component and then you can put it together. So the current application, the chat app, it consists of four components, and one is the chat settings, which is the settings where you're going to be able to switch the theme, log out, and things of that nature. And then you have the chat list, which it consists of showing the user, meaning you if you're signed in, plus the conversations that you may be having with other users, in addition to the ability of being able to put an update. And then you have the chat feed, which its main focus is to show the user you're speaking with alongside the entire conversations that you guys have, and the same flow any chat application has. Now, I really struggled this week with the UI, because I'm coming across things that this is literally just my second project. So I'm doing things on this application that I didn't do on my other one. For instance, like 3 different components connecting with the UI. I didn't know that you can have like nested ternary operators. I thought you can only do one. I also had to learn the difference between importing a component versus rendering a component, which is not the same thing. And now thinking back, I was importing a navigation link on my Nissan Experience application and not just rendering it. So I had to learn the difference between the two. In addition to, you can nest multiple ternary operators. So the way that it works, right? You have the chat settings components here. Then you have the chat list component. And then you have the chat feed, like I just explained. But even though all of these do different things, at the end of the day, they are connected. And then we have the chat app component, which is the component that I made, where I put everything together, all 3 components. That way we can get the UI that you guys will see. But I've really learned a lot and got used to using like different properties. Like I've never used Max with 7XL. I also was not familiar with inset. And again, this is new to me, the fact that I can nest ternary operators. And then I also learned that yes, you can do it, but if it starts getting too crazy, then it's better if you do just like an if statement. So that's what I had to learn this week. So let's get to the application. So nothing new in terms of how you see it here, but what I want you guys to see is, let's say you log in as Saranana, right? Now when you log in into the component, but you also get a welcome Saranana. So the application itself is realizing, okay, Saranana is the username that is logged in. But not only that, Saranana, it shows here. So it shows the user that was logged in. So you guys don't think that this is just a hard coded. Let's say lemon squeeze. So I'm going to use another user. Another user. I think the password is incorrect. Oh yeah, because this one. Lemon squeeze, right? Now we have lemon squeeze. It gives you a hi lemon squeeze, and then you have lemon squeeze as a user. And that's all being dynamically brought in through, where is it? Here. So you fetch from the login, and once it authenticates on that side, then a storage, local storage, the username. That way you can have it here when you get it. In addition is the way that you get the welcome back plus the username is here, because we are telling the application to say hi to whatever user is logged in. And from one last try, so you guys can see that it's just not hard coded, let's try Batman52. That's another account I created. So now, welcome back Batman52, Batman52. So currently, dynamically, that's what's going on. But what I improved this week, which was very tough, man, was the UI and making this responsive. This thing was not a joke. I was so frustrated. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday working on this, and I was so tired that like on Thursday I sat down to study and I blanked out because I was like so tired of just trying to put this together. And then now let me show you guys how it looks. Last week it was not responsive, but now this week, look how beautiful this is, man. So now when in smaller screens, the chat component takes over, but we do have the option of seeing the current user. Now, I want you guys to pay attention. Remember that I mentioned that I learned between rendering and importing a component? So the problem that I was having last week is when I did this, right? I was getting a new chat. The problem was when I did that and I went to the small screen, when I clicked, this would refresh. So I will lose these conversations that were already saved there. And then when I will go back to the big screen, then it will show it. And I was very confused on why this was happening. And then I started thinking that importing the same component, what it does is just creates a, yes, it's the same code, but what you're doing is actually duplicating the code. So to an extent, yes, it's the same component, only in the sense of the import and the code, but at the end of the day, it's two different components. It's just like twins. Yes, they are twins, but they have different personalities and they don't act the same necessarily. So now you see here, if I click new chat, right? You see it says new chat 5, but when we go to small screen, you see new chat 5 here. But if we add another chat, it remains, right? You see here, and then when you make it smaller again, and you get out, you still have this chat 6. So it's remembering the import. And the way that was done is through a ternary operator here in the chat app. So as you can see, I'm not importing the settings and the chat list and the chat feed over and over again. I'm just doing it one time. And then what I'm doing is I'm using ternary operators to, when the screen is small, do this. When the screen is bigger, do that. And it was funny actually because I actually used this function for the window inner width for my previous project. So it was kind of good to like go back to something that I've used and be able to use it again. But this was like new. And I know for some of you probably this is not crazy, but for me like, oh snap, I can do like multiple ternary operators. And then I was like playing with it to see if I could do more things to it, and like, oh, I can keep adding and adding as long as, because the way that ternary operators work is like true and false statements. If this happened, then this happens, else this happens type thing. And again, it's good to nest ternary operators, but if it gets too crazy, you just do an if statement. And yeah, so this is currently where we are with the application. The last thing that I did was this morning actually is that I still was not able to have the user here. So it was just showing the hard-coded. So the hard-coded version just said had a different name. And the reason for this was that I was using nextauth on my, where was chat list. I was using nextauth and I was trying to use like a session, but it didn't fit this narrative because I'm not using nextauth in my login authentication. I'm doing a custom authentication. So the way that it had to be done was I had to tell the save it in local storage as here, right? Set item as the username. So then I could call it in the chat list component as a use effect. So now what we're doing is we create this function, and then we get the item, which is the username, and then we set it here, and then we go here, and then we pass it here, and where else? All the way to here. But we really just passing it here to pass it here. But eventually the next goal is to really be able to upload a picture into the application. And I know there's a lot of things still to do, man. This is just gonna get more complicated as it grows, because this is stored locally, but I'm pretty sure this is not fully connected because this is hard coded on my chat list component, which is here. This is a hard coded. That's why you see it here. So next week is gonna get trickier. I was like, oh, I'm gonna be able to finish this in 2 weeks. I'm like, oh boy, this is getting is a lot more difficult than my first project. And it's just crazy because it's just a login form and then chat component. And yes, I can just go copy and paste code from somewhere else, but I'm not going to do that. I really want to do this and make it my own and really be proud of it. So yes, for next week, I really need to start working on connecting these things. I need to do the sign out process because right now none of these buttons work. So for next week, I need to be able to delete conversations and sign out. In addition to connect this and really start dabbling into the chat feed here to actually have chats, conversations. So I think I'm going to need a new component here. I'm pretty sure I'm going to need one. So yeah, next week I know is going to be packed for me, man. So I'm going to take a day off. And one thing that I wanted to tell you guys, I've been telling you guys that my JavaScript is like very weak, man. I've been like struggling, and I've shared this with you guys on Twitter and on my previous videos before. So I finally gave in, and I was like, you know what, bro? I need to start learning about data structures and algorithms. So I was using this tutorial. Where is it? My playlist. So for material. So I'm currently taking this free data structures and algorithms. It's done with Python, and I'm enjoying it so far. I'm like, I think like an hour deep, but I'm just gonna finish it. I'm just gonna go over it real quick because this person uses Python, and then I brought this point in my Twitter account, and somebody said, "Oh, Brad Traversy has a data structures and algorithm course." And when I learned about that, if you guys know me, you guys know that I love Brad Traversy. Like, I literally owe half of my stack to this man. So the moment they told me he had a course, I didn't even check for reviews. I didn't even care. I just went and bought it on Udemy. I think it was like 13 bucks. I think it's 12 hours. And the best thing that he said was in the introductory is that the purpose of this course is not to necessarily, he gives you the problem and then you got to figure it out on your own. He said, no, do the problems with me so I can guide you step by step. So I'm going to start learning about data structures and algorithms because, again, I really need to work on my JavaScript. It has to get stronger if I want to get hired. So once I'm done, every time I have some time, I'm going to go study during the week and finish this chat application, and most importantly, do my final project for the year. And that one, I'm just gonna follow a tutorial. I want a banking app because that's my goal. I want to have 3 solid projects for the end of the year, and then I want to really focus on leak code problems and stuff. I really want to solidify my JavaScript because the styling and all that stuff, man, it's cool, but at the end of the day, is the logic, is the code behind it. Claude can literally spit this code and save me the struggle of learning. I'm just doing it, and of course I use Gemini and I use AI to like guide me when I get stuck in certain things. But at the end of the day, what really comes down to is the JavaScript. That has to be solid because how these AIs are going, bro, you're not even gonna have to worry at this point on how to you can literally just give them a template of this is how I want my application to look, and if you have the foundations and the basics, you can just boom complete it. Once it gives you the code, you can just edit it and make it your own. So yeah, that's I thought it was gonna be a shorter video, but yeah, this is not responsive, but there's still a lot of work to be done. We're gonna start doing data structures and algorithms, and yeah, that's all I have for you guys. See you guys on the next one. Peace.